Hi, are we ready for some interlude quiz action? Anybody want to play? Yay? Okay, good. There's at least one person who's excited.
I was giving you really thrilled responses with my mute button on.
Yeah, it's really early for me too. Oh, shoot. Sorry. I went to the PowerPoint before sharing screen, and that doesn't work very well. Do you see my screen?
Mixed nuts. Yep.
Yay. Okay, so here we are. This is the quiz for class 3. And if you recall, what's under discussion here is some person said, hey, Asanga only thinks this about the mind-only school, and Dignaga and Dharmakirti only think that about what emptiness is in the mind-only school. So K-J is now refuting, and what we're going to do in this quiz is focus on Master Arya Asanga. So in the summary of the Greater Way, he wrote about the meaning of kunta, construct. What is it in a nutshell? Real nutshell, it's very short. Very small nut. Oh.
I mean, a mental image, but I mean, I don't know the difference. It's probably the same construct.
Something you
There isn't
imagine.
an outer object. It's only the mind appearing as if it were the object itself. So these are all going to be variations on a theme here. K.J. also shared with us a little poem that Master Asanga wrote about hungry spirits and animals and humans and divine beings. What point was he proving with this little poem about these beings?
That everything is mind only.
So what is it about these beings? Why talk about these beings then?
They all see the outer object or the thing they think is the outer object differently.
So yeah, I could be looking at a cup and Venerable Gyaltse can be looking at a flower. That's okay.
Yep.
They're all looking at the same
mind.
thing and seeing it differently.
Yeah.
So he holds that outer objects do not exist. So the next one, he gives a number of examples, and this is like through different writings, not necessarily all from one text. So he uses examples of a dream, an eye affected by cataracts, a mirage, the magical illusion of a horse and elephant, and meditating on the ugly. So what's his point in using these examples? Do you remember? What is it about these things?
They all come from the diamond cutter.
That's one thing, but why would he choose them? What else is similar about them?
Things that seem to have some outer appearance, but in fact have none or don't have the one they seem to have.
Uh-huh. And then what else about it? The interaction with these things. The interaction
object and subject
of
appear to be separate stuff.
Right. So I'm sorry, the thing I was going for was the object isn't real, but it's held by a state of mind that is.
Oh, I see.
So just because the object's real doesn't mean the mind isn't real. Okay, so now I'm going to give you some English words and ask that you give me the Tibetan. To take a position.
Choke long.
So I can see that we're going to run into the synonym issue.
Sure.
This has dominant. Oh, very good word. Thank you. Damchena.
Okay.
Now, Word is going to know this one at first instant that it appears on the screen. So Word, if you could like count to maybe 15 before you give it.
I'm just gonna guess smear before you even put it up.
Miracle. Which version of Thunderbolt Upala?
The word that the phrase that we had in the last class has something to do with nam.
Yeah.
Ricknam.
Nampar some.
Yeah. Namparakvasam. Thank you for counting to 15. I appreciate it.
I didn't count, but okay.
Oh,
I waited.
repulsive.
We do.
Very good. Midukpa.
Nice.
Okay. That's the
Yay.
closest I could get to what it looks like for a person who has cataracts when they're looking at someone.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Okay, now I will. Oh, gosh, I wanted to ask, should I wait to show my translation
Yeah.
attempt till when we get to that point?
You should.
class?
That's correct. Good
Okay,
idea.
thanks.
All right. Tell me when we hit it, okay? Because I hardly remember.
256 for those playing at home.
Yeah, hang on. I got the wrong screen here. Let's do this one. Okay, so we're gonna start at 254, I think. And Hasso wanted to check you.
Dekana Yangshin Wang Kanglan Dokbe Ne Sujene Ngowo Dang Kepar to Takbe Sultang Takpa de Tarang Gitseniki Drupa Gok Sultang Gakbe Chukidakme Jok Sul Namashena Lukdi Chukidakme Jok Sul Zokpa Tang Yang Sushepa Shidang Sowa Shidang Tedaki gone namparekpat samlan jukpe sultang share chin ki donam engi nam tok chui nyenpor tenpe tenpe zu jepar chadpa gak okay jepa gak daki nam shakchat samyang shepar nupa mayino.
Good. Okay, good. This is tough. Data not therefore. Now you got Shenwang, Kuntak, and Yongdup, right?
Yep.
You got changing things, and then you got made up things, and then you got empty things, which are made up, which are changing things, subtracting made up things, takes you to emptiness. Okay, got it? It's an equation. You start with changing things, subtract all the things that are just made up, and you get to emptiness. Okay. So we can say that if we're looking for what it is that we make up stuff about, Dok here is the dak in Kuntak. Okay, Dok is the present tense of the dak in Kuntak. Okay, so Kuntak means made up, and Dok means making up. Okay, so when we try to think about what is it that we're making up things about, it's the Shenwangs. Okay, we're making up truths about the Shenwangs, about changing things, functioning things that are not true. Okay, and that's what we are fantasizing about, Dok. Okay, okay. So the object of our Doks, the place where we put our Doks, is Shenwangs. Okay. And then we have to understand that the fantasy or the construct, artificial construct that we're making up about changing things is ngô dan kepa du dak, is some automatic connection between their essence and their qualities. For example, fire and hot. Okay, so the artificial thing, the kuntak that we are putting onto fire and hot is that hot applies to fire automatically or inherently. Okay, got it? So the first line says, what are we making stuff up about? We're making up ideas about Shenwang. What's the idea we're making up about changing things? We're saying that their essence and their qualities are connected self-existently, inherently. Okay, cool.
So tak implies automatically.
Yeah, and that's the past tense of dog.
Right.
Okay, and dangerously, it bears a close, in fact, often confused connection with BRTAG.
In kuntak.
In kuntak, and usually it
meaning-
says kuntak there.
Yeah, which is imaginary, which is not a bad mistake. Okay, this doc means untruths are put onto them, applied, stuck onto them in the way a nickname is given to somebody. Applied, but it's not totally crazy that people constantly make the mistake to spell it as imagine. Okay, so we can live with that. It's a great ambiguity. Okay.
So, Geshe-la,
Yeah.
when you say there's a connection, are you saying the connection is between essence and qualities and the Shenwang? Or are you saying the connection is between essence and qualities?
What we make up stuff about is changing things or functioning things, okay? And of the three qualities of the mind-only school, only Shenwang is inhabited by changing things or functioning things. Kuntaks are imaginary, they're fake, they don't exist at all. And then Yongdrups are ultimate reality, which is unchanging. So if you take all the changing stuff in the universe, you take all the functional stuff in the universe, it all gets in the mind only three characteristics. I'm slowing down consciously. They all get thrown into Shenwang, okay? Shenwang is the only one of the three qualities of the mind only school that has any working things or functioning things in it, okay? And that grab bag, that group of functioning things is what we make up stuff about. Okay, Kangla dope ne in the first line here. That's that's the object that we make up stuff about. Well, what do we make up about it? We artificially create in our minds some connection between the essence and the qualities of fire, for example. And
Okay,
by
so
the
it's
way,
not that they're applied to the thing. That's not, we don't care about that necessarily in this discussion. We're talking specifically about the relationship between the essence and the features.
yeah, we fantasize such a relationship. Yeah, we invent such a relationship. Docs, okay? Yeah, that's the point. So
Thank you.
now, for K-J, his whole point throughout here has been, look, to say that the mind-only school version of emptiness is only that blue is not an outside thing. He says that's the easy one. Okay, we want to go to the harder one, which you guys are hesitant to go to. And we want to go to that emptiness where the connection between a thing and its qualities is not inherent. Okay, it is made up. It is glued onto it, batak or ndo. Okay, cool. And for K-J, don't forget that in these lower schools, they struggle to draw a line between Kansaki dogme and Chuki dogme, right? The easier to see selflessness and the harder to see selflessness. The easier to see selflessness is called the selflessness of the person. And the harder to see selflessness is called the emptiness or the selflessness of things, okay, of things, okay. So what K.W. is into here is he's attempting to draw our attention to the deeper selflessness of the mind-only school, which is that the qualities that things have are glued onto them by our mind, and they do not have them from their own side. Even fire is not hot from its own side. It's ndokpa from our side. Okay, cool. Then, okay, so what we got so far is the thing we're making up stories about is changing things, shenwangs. And they are called shenwangs because they depend on their causes. They're at the mercy of their causes, okay? And then what do we make up about them? We make up a story that the qualities of something are inherent to it, okay? When actually we have glued them onto that, okay? And this could be happening in the kitchen. You make up stories about your husband and you glue things on him, okay? Okay. Oh, he had a bad day at work, or he's hungry, something like that, okay? Now, that connection between fire and its heat, does that exist in and of itself? Okay, is that connection, line 3, is it natural? Does it exist by definition? And we say, go.
We refute that.
Yeah, we deny that. So when you're talking about Gakja, in the mind, in the deeper murkier depths of the mind-only school, Gakja means we deny that the batakspa, the connection between fire and its heat, exists by definition and not because we made it up. Okay, and when we talk about Gakja, that natural connection between heat and fire is the Gakja in the deeper version of mind-only emptiness. Okay, cool. Gokso Dang.
So that would be how the way we refute
Oh, yeah.
that connection exists by definition.
Yeah, we got to talk about how we deny it, how we deny that. And Kakbe Churki Dagme Joksu Nam. By the way, that all of this list here is an object of machina in the 4th line. Okay. If you fail to grasp how changing things are the objects of our fantasies, if you fail to grasp the way in which we connect the qualities to the object, if you fail to grasp, if you fail to attempt to stop the idea that that connection is inherent, okay? In short, if you don't understand how to set forth the non-self-existence of things as opposed to people, okay? Chuki dangme. If you don't know that, okay, Mashena, if you don't understand 1, 2, 3, 4 points here, okay, then you will never understand the Chuki dogme, the lack of self to things, as it is put forth, jokso, in this school, in the mind-only school. You will never understand it in its entirety, zokpa, okay, in its entirety. You will never understand. And, okay, zokpa dang, and then he says, and by the way, you're gonna have to know about the 4 total knowledges.
Ah,
Yongsu Shepashi. You're gonna have to
Okay.
know about the 4 approaches. Sulwashi.
okay.
And you're gonna have to know how, by understanding those 2 force, okay, the 4, what do we call them?
Total knowledges.
Total knowledges and the 4 approaches. If you don't know how to use those 2 sets of 4 to establish jukbitsu, sorry, number, but some, yeah, if you don't understand how they apply, okay,
Okay.
to the concept that everything is only your mind, okay, number, but
Uh-huh.
some, that to the concept that the world is only your mind, okay, and then in that case, you won't understand it in the Shirchingi dos.
You won't understand them in the Sutras on the Perfection of Wisdom.
Yeah, where they describe antidotes to the Namtok Chu, the 10 weird ideas, okay,
Uh-huh.
of a distracted mind, okay,
Uh-huh.
Namyang, okay, Tenbetsu, Kepa Chepa, these long explanations about the 4 knowledges, the 4 approaches, the 10 kinds of wrong ideas of distraction, those Gepa Chepas, those detailed explanations in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, okay, you will never be able to know the slightest % of those explanations. Okay, Namshak Chatsamyang means the slightest piece, the slightest tiny %. Shepa Nupa Mayan, you will never understand. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so this is a beautiful summary of his last 10 or 15 pages.
Uh-huh.
Okay, maybe that means we get liberated from this discussion soon. I don't know.
I don't know. Are we gonna, I mean, it smells like we're going into a long footnote detour here
Yeah,
with the
and most of
4.
these footnotes are going to be references back to previous footnotes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had, and by the way, I copied it in here for you. We had these at Folio 12A,
Okay.
and
Oh, okay.
here's the 10 weird ideas. Okay, and the other 2 sets of 4 we had. So,
Great.
by
Thank
the
you.
way, we had them. They weren't very clear, but we had them. Okay. They're clear enough for a footnote. By the way, he didn't bother to clarify them,
Right.
which means that he didn't think it was necessary for his readers to know what these groups were.
Uh-huh.
He just said, look, there's these groups, and I hope someday you can learn them. And somewhere in here, he's going to say, I'm not going to explain this all this groups because my book would be at 10,000 pages. Okay, that's how these guys get out of explaining this stuff. Okay, who's up? I gotta find somebody.
Venerable
Fred,
Chunza maybe is awake.
is she there?
I think so.
Kind of early in New
Yep.
York. Are you
No,
there,
it's not
Jen?
that early. I'm here. Thank you.
Are you at the beach in Long Island, or you?
Night, soon.
Second. Okay, good. All right, please read Venerable Upala. Chunzon, be merciless, okay?
Yeah.
Dayang dode gongdra le shenwang ngowo tang kepar to kun takbe ngowo rang kitseni ki drupa mepe zeni ngowo ni mepa chuk me du shepe shuki shenwang la ngowo tang kepar du tagspa rangi.
I'm not going to do the purposeful mistakes.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Takpa rangi tseniki drupar nzin pa chik kitak nzin du tenla.
Good. Okay, good.
Thank you.
What's Do De Gong Do?
The Sutra of What I Really Meant.
Yeah, the sutra called What I Really Meant. In that lay, they describe the fact that Shenwangs,
Mhm.
changing things, have a nature which is imputed to them. And here's the other spelling, by the way,
Yep.
BRTAG. There's a refuted or reputed connection between the essence and the qualities, okay? And that nature, momo, such a nature, Rangi Tseniki Dupa, does it exist by definition or naturally? And we say me, okay? It doesn't have a natural connection like that, okay? Who said that? Lord Buddha, okay?
Uh-huh.
And that's, by the way, what Kuntak, one of the three qualities, those three qualities in that sutra are not called by those three names commonly. They are called the three Ngoni Mepas.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so here is Senyi Ngoni Mepa is how that sutra talks about the lack of a natural connection between the thing and its qualities. Okay, so you when you see Senyi Ngoni Mepa, you can just think Kuntak. Okay, the category called Kuntak. In the sutra, it has a synonym called Senyi Ngoni Mepa, a lack of any inherent defining nature, something like that. Okay, meaning the heat of fire. Okay, in the sutra, that's explained, end of the third line, Shepa, that's explained as being Chukidagmi.
Yeah, emptiness to things.
Yeah. Now,
Krishna, can I ask a question? I'm sorry. I heard two different things
Sure.
that are contradictory, so I want to make sure
Okay.
I understand. I thought I heard you say that Seni Ngoni Mepa is the phrase used in What I Really Meant to talk about the three attributes. And then I heard that
no,
Seni
only,
Ngoni Mepa is the word used for Kuntak.
only the attribute of Kuntak.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, good. So if the lack of self to things is explained in that sutra as the lack of a natural connection between a thing and its qualities, okay? Then shuki, and we had a lot of shuks in, was it Adam's text yesterday?
Adam's text, yeah.
What's this shuk mean?
Automatically?
Imply.
No,
Implied.
Inferentially, yeah.
Oh,
by implication, okay, now follow me. If that's what the sutra says is the lack of self to things, okay, then by implication we can say that that sutra is describing holding to the lack of self, holding to a self of things, okay? If the sutra describes a lack of a self nature, then we can reconstruct what it means to grasp to that self nature.
sure.
That's easy, right? I'll
Yeah.
say it again. If the sutra clearly states what's not there that we think is there, then we can reconstruct what it feels like to think it's there. Okay, shuki. Okay, shuki means we don't need Lord Buddha to say, oh, that's what lack of self is. Therefore, holding to a self, okay, which is our lamki gakja, right?
Mhm.
Which is the habit we want to stop. Holding to a self can be described as believing in that connection.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
he says shuki means if you get what the sutra says about what's not there, then you and I, without relying on the sutra, can reconstruct Chukki Dangzin.
Holding to a self.
Yeah,
Nature
what
to
is it to
things.
hold to a self? Well, to hold to a self is to hold, going backwards in the fifth line,
Uh-huh.
is holding to a self is to hold
Yep.
that the connection between Shenwangs,
Mhm.
sorry, with Shenwangs, the connection between their
Essential
essence
nature and
and
various
their
features
qualities, that,
exist by definition.
yeah, which is actually Batakspa, that imaginary connection exists by nature, or really, okay, really. It's so in a sense, by demonstrating what it is to be a self nature, Lord Buddha is impliedly telling us what it is to hold to a self nature of things. Chuki dang zen te ten. Got
Yeah.
it? It's cool. It's very cool. All right, cool. By the way, I'm uncomfortable with implicitly because it
It
means,
smells self-existent.
well, no, it means explicitly in modern English. Okay. It was implicit in Joe Biden's discussion that, blah, 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 but it didn't used to mean that.
Oh,
It used to
I
mean
see.
the opposite of explicit, but now it means explicit. Okay. So I don't like to use that word much. Okay, good. Did you have a question?
Is this a new idea that
No, I think he's kind of starting to repeat himself, or he's trying to wrap up. He's trying to confirm that we understand what he's been talking about.
okay,
And I
all right.
appreciate it. I really appreciate it because I wasn't sure I knew what he was talking about. Yeah, by the way, there's something in here I want to say. Oh, yeah. It's a slightly interesting fact that that Senyi in Senyingoni Mepa, which is the sutra word for kuntak, right? Where the essence of the defined essence is not natural, something like that. That Senyi, I think, appears in this word, Rankit Seniki Dupa, right? To exist by definition. And so it's always been a question in my mind why the quality of kuntak, or the characteristic of kuntak, was described as Senyingoni Mepa, lack of defining essence. And now we know that it means that the qualities are not present by definition in the fire. Okay. Cool.
Cool.
So if you're sensitive in this translation of this paragraph, you might want to consciously tie Rangitseniki Drupa to Senyingoni Mepa. Okay.
Okay.
All right, good. Well, here's a nice small paragraph.
Yeah, that's the one that you asked me to translate.
Oh, okay. Do you want to go through it slowly? And do you want to? I'm going to stop the share, and you want to share your screen?
Okay.
And we'll go through it. It's a long paragraph. It's a hard paragraph. Aren't you glad I didn't give you the last paragraph?
Yeah. But any one you give is fine.
You learned something, right?
I try.
In the depths of confusion, as they say.
Okay, I lost you. Are you seeing anything? I don't know. Are
We
you seeing multiple things? Yeah,
we're
hold
seeing
on.
this- Yeah.
I'm going to start over. Okay.
Great.
Do you see this now?
Oh,
Very
yeah.
clear.
Can you make it bigger?
Oh, wow, even bigger.
Yeah, it's just that it's a monster paragraph. Okay, good. Yeah, good.
I just stole those footnotes from Emptiness Meditation, so you don't really need to
Hey, emptiness meditation.
approve them.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go slow. Okay.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Read it in Tibetan, and
Yep.
let me choose somebody here. Venerable Kading wanted to check your pronunciation.
Okay. Jiangsan, Dang Duwa, Dang Tek Du Le Kyang, 내 진탈 숭웨 통배 통니 우메든 탈툭 바탕 Chucky dak me ki young drop to bepa du me drup shing. Shen wang lang o tang ke par du kun tak pat parang ki tsene ki drupe tong pa de young drup dang chut dak tak pe chini tang gan la mik de gom na shen drip dak par jepe mik par Jang sa sokle shepe. Niente de ni ki wawa dang ke par du kuntak parangi tsene ki tong warma du ching. De ni ki lukla de rangi tsene ki du parn zimpar yang ja guso.
Whoa. Okay. Here we go. I'm just gonna go slow. Changsa, yeah, levels of Bodhisattva. So summary of the outline. Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure of that title, but I guess you checked it.
Yeah, from before, but you haven't reviewed my translation. So, but that's the provisional
Okay.
translation.
And a summary of the Greater Way. Good. Made great efforts. To establish that being empty of the way a thing is held. This thing is the ultimate meaning of emptiness in the main. Good. Okay. Chucky dog make a young dupe to paper to me. As explained in the levels of Bodhisattvas. Hang on. Yeah, okay. As explained in levels of Bodhisattvas and others. Okay, the lack of dependent things existing by definition. Shewa langoda kebla kundapatar. Chigna de yon dup to pepa to me dupchi. Where is Chucky Dog Meki yon dup to pepa to me dup?
Where is this one? That is
Chucky
here.
Dog Meki yon dup. I think you.
The lack of a self-nature to things is established
Oh.
reality.
Okay, is established reality. That's okay. Okay.
Was I right in assuming this different word for and
Oh, okay.
is what
okay,
like
that's okay.
separates these two parts?
This and.
Yeah, he uses shing instead of tang, which he uses.
Oh yeah, and yeah, that's correct. Paper to me. True. Okay, that's okay. Kepa the kunda batar. Rankit syndicate more than kepa the kunda batar. Rankit syndicate dupe tomba. Things are empty. Explained by the lack of dependent things as conceptualized essential nature and various feature is established reality. Okay. Young Duke. And the way things are should not to self in nature. Young Duke done. Okay. Chikitame kape. Chini dan kana mene gomna. Yeah. So this Kangla Migne Gomne Shidip Dapa Chepe is kind of the definition of what?
Nirvana.
Yeah, or emptiness, right? Or ultimate reality. If kind of the definition of ultimate reality or emptiness in one sense is if you ever see it, and if you ever meditate on it, you will remove your shiduks. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So I would say, okay, that's okay. Yeah, maybe chunks of sort of shipping. Niente deniki. The two listener schools. Yeah, okay. Deniki, more than capital kunta parangitiniki tomba matupching. Do not establish that the conceptualization is empty by definition. Rangitiniki tomba matupching. Deniki lugla. And that in both schools, they rangitiniki tupatzima. And that must be held. Yeah, good. I like the whole thing. It's extremely difficult. By the way, let me ask you a question, and this will help you. If the lower two tracks, right, which is traditionally here, the listener track and the self-made Buddha track, okay?
Oh, it's
if
not talking about details in sutras?
I don't think so.
Okay,
And I'll tell you why.
okay.
And I'll just plant a seed in your mind. I mean, it bears further checking, but dogme charaksum, say dogme,
Dakme,
charak
Trarak.
sum. The 3 degrees of selflessness, of which only the highest one is tombani.
Okay.
So the lower 2 are called selflessness, and only the higher one is called emptiness.
How do you spell Trarak?
PHRA
PHRR? Yeah,
space RAGS.
RAG. Okay, thank you.
And so and remember they said that essentially the presentation of these degrees of emptiness by the mind-only school and the lower mental way school is essentially the same. Okay.
Right.
So what he's describing here is how those lower 2 tracks, which I think is what he's referring to as the 2 listener tracks, which is actually the listener track and the self-made Buddha track. It's traditionally the belief in the mind-only school and the lower middle way that the 2 lower tracks never see directly full emptiness, which is sometimes described as chuki dogme tumo, subtle lack of a self to things. Okay, cool. So I think what he's setting you up for here is the appreciation that there are degrees of, and we can't even say, you see, we cannot say degrees of emptiness. We have to say, technically, we have to say degrees of a lack of self-nature.
Uh-huh.
And some are self-nature to things, and some are self-nature to a person. And seeing the lack of a self to a person is something that the 2 lower tracks do. And only the Mahayana track sees fully the lack of self to things. And what he's been describing here in these last few pages is the lack of self to things.
Right.
Okay. What was the lack of self to the person then in these last few pages? Because he's been focusing hard on the lack of self to things, but he seems to have skipped over the lack of self to a person. So what would be the easier lack of self to see in the last few pages?
What would be the easier one? I'm sorry?
Yes.
I didn't understand the question.
Lack of self to a person is supposed to be easier to see than the lack of self to things. Supposedly, the lower 2 tracks can see the lack of self to a person, but they cannot see the lack of self to things. If the lack of self to things is that characteristics don't apply to objects inherently, then what is the lack of self to a person, the easier lack of self in the last few pages? The easier mind-only lack of self.
I'm sorry, I really don't understand what you're asking.
what's the easier emptiness to see in the mind-only school that he's
According to KJ, it's the lack of the self to persons.
yeah, but that is the fact that blue is not an outside thing.
Right.
Okay, cool. That's all I'm trying to get. That's all
Oh.
I'm trying to. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
That's the easier quote emptiness to see. That the colors and shapes you see are in your kunshi, are in your foundation consciousness. They don't exist outside, and we can say that's the lack of self to the person. And then, but what Kitty J is trying to get at here is that nobody talked about the lack of self to things.
Okay.
And that's much more difficult. And that's the fact that fire is not hot. Fire doesn't have its attributes self-existently, right? Cool. So that's why he brought in the two listener schools here. Okay. They don't get the higher kind of emptiness. And he's kind of saying that those of you who've been lazy about your mind-only studies, you're kind of not being bodhisattvas.
Hmm.
It's kind of weird, yeah. All right?
Because
Because you are not even aware of Chukki Dagme in the mind-only school. You don't even understand that there's a higher emptiness in the mind-only school, which is the fact that things don't possess their characteristics inherently.
right.
Cool,
Okie
right?
doke.
Whoa, heavy. Very difficult. And you did a good job on the translation, okay?
Thank you.
And by the way, it's not BS, okay? This is not BS. It has everything to do with the kitchen, okay? It has everything to do with the kitchen. You cannot have successful relationships, which by the way means you can't have a successful business life if you don't understand this kind of selflessness, okay? And if you do understand it, your life is very successful and much easier, okay? Yay. Okay, where are we? 257?
Yes, that would be the next one.
Okay, I still want to get Su Gang to do some work because I'm jealous of him sitting in the pleasant sort of Maya. And okay, let's go.
I'm ready.
Dendrawe kontakni pongpolos lasok palan di sukso she ngowo dang di suki kewao she sok kepar tu mingdang dar takpe ngowo yinla punsok nam ngowor sam de yepa gak minupe der rangitseniki yepangokte.
Yeah, and I really appreciate this little paragraph because he's kind of going in more to what does it mean when we make an artificial connection between fire and hot? Okay, how do we make that connection? What do you mean it's an artificial connection? And he says, Dendawi Kuntakni, when we're discussing this kind of artificial reality, right, of the three characteristics of the mind-only school, when we constructs, okay, especially false constructs, okay, when we look at our 5 heaps, okay, and we say, oh, this is the first of the 5 heaps. This is the heap of form, right? Which means the physical parts to us. If Lord Buddha had gotten enlightened in America, he wouldn't have talked about the 5 heaps. He would have talked about body and mind. And so this is the body part of body and mind, okay? So when you look at the physical parts of me, of Michael, and you divide Michael into body and mind, okay? Then that collection of stuff, Pumbo, that you call Michael's body, body, sukso, she, that's the no, that's the
That's-
fire.
That's the essence.
That's the main thing. Okay, that's the main thing. Okay, and then what does it mean to talk about some characteristic of it? Kepar. Okay, kepar. More than kepar, right? So finally, which he should have said a few pages ago, when we talk about the thing and its characteristics, okay, such as fire and heat, he says here, for fire, think your body. Suki pubo. Okay, this is my physical part of me. Okay, for the main thing, think body. For the characteristic which we are tying to it artificially, think this was the start of my body when I was born in the hospital. Okay.
Oh, right.
Okay, so what's the main thing like fire? My body. What's the characteristic of it that I am artificially gluing to it? Oh, this was the day I came out of my mom. This was the birth of my body. Okay, got it?
Yeah.
That's the quality. Okay, and that quality is connected to that main thing only nominally with names and terms. Okay, it is glued. The starting of my body is a concept glued onto my body by names and das. What's da?
Terms.
Of
Mental
application.
images.
Yeah, good, mental images. Technically, as a word, Nick's right, it means term. But we know it means the more important part of naming things, which is how you picture them. Okay, and not the syllables that you put on them. It's not a big deal that you say th. Okay, birth. That's not the important thing here. It's that you conceptualize a picture in your mind of coming out of your mind of your mom and say that belongs to my body. Okay, inherently. Okay. Okay, so dartapengo. Okay. So the suk is the ngo, and the kewa is the kepa, is the quality which we are attaching to the body with names and ideas. Okay, good. Okay, pusong
But-
samtu yopa kak minupe terangi seniki yopa kokte pungso nam more samtu yopa kak minupe. I don't know. To say that heaps and other things exist only in essence, you couldn't stop it that way. So in this case, we're trying to deny that things that connection could exist by nature. Okay, we are not denying that the body is not the body. We are not denying that the body is the body. We're not denying the ngo. Okay, we're not saying the body is not the body, which is what who says?
Lord Buddha.
They
No, the higher
say
those
that
crazy
Yeah, right.
middleweight guys, those
Yeah.
extremists, those
Yeah.
terrorists.
the
Okay.
consequence branch,
Yeah, those
Wild,
second of the wheel
crazy
guys.
people.
Yeah, they would say not even the fire exists. Okay, but we would say no. The connection between the fire and its heat, and the connection between my body and the event of my birth are not natural. Okay. Cool.
Pretty cool.
Okay, so that last, can we say that last part again so that
Yeah.
it's we're not,
Look, no
we
one-
can't
Minupa
deny?
means no one, unless they were crazy, Minupa would be able to say there was no body. Okay, we're just saying that the connection is, we're just denying Gog that the connection could exist by nature, by definition. Okay, but hey, we're not saying there's no body. We're not saying there's no fire. That's middle way, guys. We're just
Yeah, I was
saying-
just trying to connect it to the words. Thank you, Geshe-la.
yeah, we're just saying the way you see those noels is artificial. Okay, cool. And
We're
it's
at time.
created by your karma. Whoa, heavy stuff. And but I'm happy. I think we got it. And it would be easy to breeze through these paragraphs and not understand them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Geshe-la, what shall I attempt to translate for the next class?
Yeah, let me cook this.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That's
How
the
about
deep end.
265? It's only 2 lines.
259
kidding.
is the deep end of the pool.
Just kidding.
I guess you don't have any choice. You should go for 58 and 59, 258 and 259.
Okay. Thank
But go
you.
slow. Don't break your teeth. Okay.
Right. Well, I have to start like at 8:02 a.m. So
Yeah, exactly.
in order to make it in time for next time.
during grandpa's snoring. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
May,
you. I love you guys.
all the beauty and nourishment and wonder of the world be yours and everyone.
Hey, all I need is a few hours of sleep. Okay.
Or a few hours of sleep.
Okay. See you guys. By the way,
Cool.
if you're a translator, I bow down to you and I kiss your toes.
Yeah.
Your toe, your big toe. And you other
Jam it
guys,
in there.
you other guys who are still in this class, you're the kind of people who like to hit your head on the wall. I think you're amazing. Okay.
Meaning bodhisattvas.
Nick, any announcements?
Thank you, Geshe Michael. Thank you, Utpala, and everybody. The only announcement I have is that Uto is going to teach yoga now. So stick around here on this link and you'll get an amazing yoga class with a really wonderful teacher. And at 4, we have another yoga class for those of you who would prefer to join later. And that will be with Anjali,
Okay.
also a great yoga teacher. And thank you for helping us move our bodies because we're sitting for so many hours trying to wrestle with these ideas. That was an awesome class. Thank you so much. Confusing and then enlightening.
All right. See you guys this evening.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh.